What's up everyone, this is Kevin, and in today's video, I'm going to tell you how to stop binge eating if you're in college or grad school. If you want to control what you eat and control your body, then hit the subscribe button so you never miss a video. And if you want to speak with me personally, there is also a link below. College is a really interesting time. It's a unique time in your life when you have some level of autonomy. Maybe you're living away. It's the first time in your life where you're not living with your parents, but you still don't have total responsibility of an adult. You don't have to earn a paycheck. You don't have to pay taxes. There's a lot of things that you don't have to do. So it's kind of like the best of both worlds. You do have a lot of demands of school. You have a lot of tests to take and a lot of anxiety, and you're always wondering about passing the next class. So it's definitely a stressful part of your life, but it's unique and it goes really fast. This is why you don't want an eating disorder or binge eating to ruin it, as it ruined mine. Now, to be clear, I didn't develop binge eating until after college, but my eating disorder really developed during that time. When I was 20 years old, I became orthorexic, really restrictive, and that in turn led to chewing and spitting and binge eating and purging and all other sorts of things later in life. It's not a coincidence that it happened at that age. I was impressionable, I was lonely, I had no goals in life. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know where I was going. I had no social life, no friends. I didn't know where I wanted to go, and I really felt insecure. I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know what I was good at. One thing I was good at was being fit and being lean, and I wanted to do it better than anybody else. It was this insecurity and the fear of growing older that ultimately drove me to make the decisions that I did. I can't get those years back, but if you're watching this, you still have a chance to overcome this while you're still in college or in grad school. In grad school, things even got worse. I was binging, I was purging, I was fasting, I was compensating, and I was trying to become a physical therapist at the same time. It was really hard. It was like having two jobs. I had to go to school and then manage this eating disorder on the side. Fortunately, I passed, but if you have a problem like this, you really need to get this sorted out before you go to grad school. Without any further introduction, let's talk about how to beat binge eating or any other eating disorder while you're a college or grad school student. The first thing I want to talk about is a cafeteria diet. When you're in school, especially undergraduate school, there is fast food and convenience food all over the place. I remember my school, there was this entire food court. I don't even know what's there now. It's probably even worse, but they had anything and everything that a college student would want. And then there were vending machines everywhere. Now you have apps on your phone that allow you to order food and bring it to your dorm. I didn't even have that when I was in college. And then there, of course, there's the shopping center off the campus. My point is there's always a reason to eat, and then you combine that with social life and the frat parties and all the drinking, and it's really hard to eat right while you're in college. So my first tip for you is to learn a little bit about nutrition. That way you can make conscious choices in the moment. You don't know that pizza isn't the best food for you. You don't know that that sandwich that you're getting at Subway is 80% bread and it's white bread and the quality of the meat is really low, and then you add the mayonnaise and everything else to it and it's a really unhealthy meal. You need to know a little bit about nutrition. You need to know a little bit about processed food and the modern food supply. If you're ignorant, then it's going to be really hard for you to make healthy choices. I think this is one reason why students gain 15 pounds, that freshman 15, because they don't know anything. They don't teach nutrition, they don't teach physiology in high school, so they just go to school and they're surrounded by food courts and all of these other foods and all of these parties, and it's really easy to gain weight. Even though your metabolic rate is at its peak, you still gain weight in college and you lose some of that fitness that you had in high school. This is especially true if you were an athlete in high school and now you're not. Because now you're not burning off all that junk food after school and in your sport. The other problem with college and grad school is the influence of others. They're always inviting you to parties, and if you belong to a sorority, it's even worse. You want to be social. So what do? They invite you to the bar, they invite you to restaurants, you eat pizza parties, you eat fast food. Most college students, and especially high school students, don't eat very well. They're just eating stuff that's cheap, that's convenient. A lot of times they don't have access to appliances and a modern kitchen, so they're buying convenience. If you can, try to get a dorm room or an offsite apartment that has at least a stove and a microwave and a little refrigerator. That way you can prepare some meals ahead of time. When I was in college, my last year at least, I was prepping all my meals. Now, I went too far. I was bagging everything and putting things in cooler. It was taking me like an hour a day to pack my meals when I should have been using that time to study or hang out with friends or do anything else. And I was just wasting my time chopping vegetables each night in the kitchen. It doesn't have to be that intensive. You can bake or prepare meals ahead of time and then put them in containers and then they're ready to go. It just takes a little bit of forethought at the beginning of the week. Other options include like the energy bars and the nuts and the dried fruit. Those aren't that bad. They work in a bind. I do a lot of home visits and sometimes I just have bread, nuts, carrots, bananas, nothing prepared, but it's still a lot healthier than what you're going to find in the convenience store or in the snack shop or in the food court. So that's my second tip for you, is to prepare ahead of time. Think ahead. When are you going to need those meals? Are you going to be able to return to the dorm room late at night or in the afternoon so you can have lunch? Or are you going to be out during the day? If that's the case, then you need to think ahead. Thinking ahead will help you be healthy, and it will also make you a better student. Speaking of being a student, stress and anxiety are a huge problem in college, and especially grad school when there's so much pressure. You feel like you have to get these grades. If you don't get this grade, you're not going to get into med school, you're not going to get into business school, and you think about the worst case scenario if you don't get this one grade. But I was always thinking about how bad things could go. I was thinking, if this goes wrong, I'm going to flunk out, and then I'm going to have to go back to my parents' home, and then I'm going to have to tell them that I flunked out, and that's going to be horrible. It's just this catastrophic thinking. Now, I don't know how to treat that. I don't treat anxiety. I don't treat performance anxiety. I don't pretend to. I help people break bad eating habits and establish new ones. I just want to make that clear. But the stress and anxiety can definitely compel people to overeat or undereat. In my case, in grad school, it definitely made me overeat. It was just kind of my escape after class. I would go back to my apartment where I did have appliances that I misused to overfeed myself. And it only got worse through grad school. It was like 3-4 times a week where I was overeating or binge eating, usually at night, well, when I should have been studying, when I should have been in the lab. It definitely impacted my performance. That's how you know it's a problem, when you're getting B's when you should get A's, and you're getting C's and D's when you should be getting at least C's and at least D's. College and grad school are not good times to have an eating disorder, as I found out. I'm lucky I got out alive. I graduated, but I know there are some people out there who have addictions, whether it's drugs, social media even, or online gambling, and then they flunk out, and that's the end of their career. So nip this in the bud, preempt this now, get it taken care of. My next tip for you is to be productive when you need to be productive. One of the things I'm trying to do, the habit that I'm trying to establish, is I determine the task that I want to complete. I set the timer, so let's just say an hour or 2 hours, whatever. I close all distractions. I put my phone on airplane mode. I use an app called Focus Me, which you can find below in the description box. Focus Me eliminates unnecessary apps that are distracting, like email and social media. That way I can just focus on this one task. And then I establish the goal or the objective that I want to accomplish. What do I want to accomplish in this 1 or 2 hour block? What is it? And then I sit in one place. Easier said than done, but it's a good habit to establish, because if you're not productive during the productive hours, then you end up wasting time later. You don't remember things. You're studying the night before, which only increases your stress and anxiety. So be productive and focus when you need to be. That way you can relax later. And that leads me to my next tip, is find times for relaxation. Even if you're in grad school, even if you're in med school, which I know can be really grueling. PT school is bad enough, med school is even worse. You need to find time for yourself. You need to go outside, take a walk, go to the aquatic center or whatever. Find you time. Do something that's decompressing. There is room for diversions, even in grad school. Maybe not finals week, but the rest of the time there should be. Maybe just watching YouTube videos or movies. The thing is, you need to be productive during those productive hours. And if you're going to study for 2 hours, then study for 2 hours. Don't study for an hour and browse internet for an hour and then say that you really studied for 2 hours. You're only cheating yourself. And then the time that should be leisure time isn't leisure time at all. You're looking at flashcards, or you're trying to study while you're on your phone, or you're looking at the TV or whatever. Have leisure time, have productive time, keep them separate, like oil and water. Another problem with college and grad school, not so much grad school, but definitely college, is athletics. And a lot of people in college, young athletes, are in weight-dependent sports. So what's a weight-dependent sport? Any sport that depends on you maintaining a certain body weight. So all the endurance sports, basically: running, swimming, cycling, triathlon, track and field, gymnastics, I guess tennis to an extent. Pretty much any sport is going to be weight-dependent overall. Especially, I guess any sport is going to be weight-dependent in some way, especially wrestling. The sports where you have to weigh in at a certain point, there's a lot of pressure to maintain that weight, and this can drive disordered eating. So it's a fine line because a lot of students have scholarships and they're trying to keep that scholarship, and then if they weigh too much, there goes the scholarship. So I get the pressure, and it's easy for me to say because I don't have a scholarship, never did have a scholarship. I didn't even do athletics while I was in school. It's easy for me to say this now, 10, 12 years after graduating from college. But if you are in that kind of sport, just be careful. And I'm telling you, it's not worth maintaining the scholarship if it's going to wreck your mental health and it's going to wreck your eating habits and it's going to leave you with an eating disorder for the next 5 or 10 years of your life. Trust me, it's not. Now, fortunately, there are ways to maintain that weight without developing an eating disorder. So you might want to consider working with a nutritionist, especially like a sports nutritionist. How can you get the fuel that you need without some sort of restrictive diet, without triggering those survival cues, without triggering the urges? That's even beyond my expertise. I only help people who have gone too far and now they're trying to correct those behaviors. But if you haven't developed that kind of disorder yet, definitely work with a sports nutritionist or a dietitian that works with athletes. That way you don't go down that path. If you're not an athlete, every school has an aquatic center or a fitness center. That's one of the greatest things about college. It's embedded in your tuition, so you're not paying for it directly. I mean, you're paying for it somehow, but it's not like you have to pay $75 each month. My school had a great aquatic center. I remember had 2 pools, great weight room. It's still nice, actually. All sorts of cardio equipment that I could use every day of the week. I would go to the aquatic center before school and then lug my duffel bag around the rest of the day. I'm not sure I would do that now, but that's what I did because my fitness was my number one priority. And in some ways that was actually a good thing, is that I was prioritizing my fitness and I didn't lose track of my fitness. And despite all of the demands of college, I was still trying to stay fit and eat right. Now the execution was a little off, and I made that my primary focus. I should have been focusing more on school instead of doing 2 workouts a day, especially when I didn't even have a scholarship. I was just doing it for my own, my own gratification. But if you have a fitness center, definitely use it. It's there. You're already paying for it. It's a great way to decompress. It's a great way to meditate. Just go on the treadmill, elliptical, whatever. Some of these places have classes. They have yoga, Pilates, body pump, etc. If they have a pool, get in the pool. That can be refreshing too. Either way, just get in there. You're paying for it. Start with 1 minute if you're not already going. Then go to 5 minutes, then 10 minutes, 15, 20, and so on. You're going to be fitter. It's going to improve your mental state. It's going to relieve that stress and anxiety that you have. That's one of the things that got me through grad school, is I always went to the fitness center. Another problem with college is sexual appearance. This is when, I don't want to say hormones are high, but there's definitely a lot of sexuality in college. Women are trying to look pretty and petite. Men are trying to look muscular, and they're trying to attract women. Some of them are more successful than others. This was never a huge focus for me in college. In fact, it wasn't at all. I had a really atypical college experience. But people are trying to attract each other. This is when people meet each other. Some people end up getting married. They end up marrying their college sweetheart. Some people are even their high school sweetheart. In grad school, this continues. I saw a lot of people meet in grad school and then get married because they have similar interests, similar professions, they're at a similar socioeconomic status. So there's a lot in common there, and I get that, but it also drives people, especially women, to engage in unhealthy eating habits to maintain a certain figure, maintain a certain form, to attract a potential mate. A lot of the things we do come down to sex. If you think about it, sex is a primary motivator for a lot of us, as it should be, because if it weren't, I probably wouldn't be making this video right now. So that's another thing you need to balance. You need to balance your sex life and your romantic life, your relationships with healthy eating. If you find yourself, and I'm speaking primarily to women right now, but if you find yourself like weighing yourself twice a week or twice a day, and you're on some restrictive diet and you're trying to chase some number on a scale because you don't think men are going to be attracted to you, well, here's my message for you as a male. Fit is in, thin is out. We don't necessarily want thin women. I mean, I see some women, they have like no arms, no legs. I don't think that's attractive at all. These supermodels, they have pretty faces, but their bodies are horrible. I mean, I can't imagine what kind of nutrient deficiencies they have. Because as a man, I want to know, can this woman give birth? Are you going to have enough fat and muscle to push a baby through your body. So if you're really thin, I'm thinking twice about that. So just keep that in mind. Go into these classes, like CrossFit or these group exercise classes, and lifting weights. That's actually really attractive to guys. I would say one of the most attractive things a female can do is lift weights. And I'm not talking about doing the hip abduction machine and some of these other booty exercises that you see. I mean, that's kind of attractive, but a woman who's doing like cleans and deadlifts and squats, like, wow, she really cares. She's really fit. So that's my message for you. I hope that helps. My point is attaining a certain weight isn't worth it in the long run. You're just going to screw up your brain. You're going to create these horrible eating patterns, and then you're going to spend the next few years of your life trying to correct it. I wish I had never changed my diet when I was 20. My diet before was okay, had room for improvement, but I was eating stuff like sweet potatoes and flaxseed. I didn't need to do it, and that's what's so tragic about it. If I had not done that, if I just kept eating the way I was when I was 19 or 20, I would have been okay. And yeah, adding the vegetables was good. Cutting out the red meat was good, depending on who you ask. But I ended up wrecking my mental health, my social life, and I ended up with 10 years of eating disorders. So was that really a good decision? Just keep that in mind. When you're in college, I don't think you realize that you have so many years ahead of you. You think college, or even grad school, you think that's everything. This is going to be, the rest of your life. And then you look back when you're 30, 35 and think, that was just like a blip. College is like a giant haze. It was 4 years, but it doesn't even seem like anything. So your time perception is going to change over time. My point is, don't make decisions now that you'll regret in your mid-20s, late 20s, 30s, and even 40s. Another problem with college is the identity crisis. A lot of young adults go to college with no idea of what they want to do. They don't know why they're there. They don't know what they want to major in. They're switching majors. They're there for 5 or 6 years. We just push young adults into college. I think that's a real problem. That's a different discussion. But there is a problem with identity in college. Like for me, I didn't know where I was going. I didn't think about my future very much. I just wanted to get through school. I didn't think about what I was going to do after that, even though people were always asking me. But I didn't know my place in this world. I didn't know what I was good at. I didn't know what skills I wanted to attain. I wasn't attaining really practical, useful skills in college. I think a lot of young adults feel that way. So it's like you're 21, 22, and you're thinking, where am I going after this? Who am I? What am I here for? You have all of these questions, and that's good. It's good to pontificate on those questions, but it also leads you to some really stupid decisions and behavior, like me. Like I wanted to be a triathlete, an endurance athlete, and I ended up wrecking my health. Like for me, I didn't know where I wanted to go. I knew I was into endurance sports. I was good at it. I liked doing it, so that's where I put my focus. It wasn't a very good focus because nobody's going to pay me to go ride my bike. Were that the case, but that's not what people pay me for now. It's okay to have hobbies while you're in college or grad school. In fact, I encourage it. Just don't make it an obsession. If you are binge eating or you have an eating disorder, and this is my last tip, get help. Okay, you're watching potential help here. There are counselors, there are therapists, but now we live in this giant online world where you have coaches and programs and podcasts. There are so much more media today than when I was in college. So if you're in college or grad school now, be fortunate because the resources available to help you fix these problems is tremendous. I felt isolated and alone. I didn't feel like anybody could help me. Nobody in my life, at least. It didn't even occur to me to go online and look for a coach or some program to help me to get that result. Now, I absolutely would be doing that because I know that those resources are there. So if you are a binge eater or an overeater, or you just have some bad eating habits that you want to break and you're in college or grad school, don't forget there is a link below to book a free strategy call with me. And also there are other coaches out there. I'm not the only one. I can't help everybody. I'm not the right fit for everybody, but that's kind of the point of the call. I hope you found this video educational and entertaining. Are you in college or grad school, and are you currently dealing with some kind of eating disorder? Or do you find yourself binge eating, which is technically an eating disorder? Or are you overeating, or do you have some bad eating habits? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, then I'm sure you'll like one of the other videos that you see on the screen. Click one of them, and I'll see you there.